Welcome to BodyWork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. And today I want to talk about Anthony Joshua and Jermain Franklin, along with Derrick James, the evil genius. You know, I'm really proud of Derrick James and, you know, the kind of coach he is, the philosophy. Is always a handful of coaches that I always talk about: Coach Calvin, Derrick James, Coach Kenny Ellis, Coach Kevin Cunningham. You know, I sprinkle in a little bit of Robert Garcia. Starting to talk more and more about Breadman, and haven't done a piece on Cake Roma yet, but there's a certain amount of, a certain handful of coaches, man, that, you know, you can tell by the way their fighters fight, the way their fighters make adjustments, you know, and when you hear them speak, you know, whenever you have the privilege of actually hearing them speak and actually talk about the X's and O's of boxing, you really hear a difference and see that it's levels to this coaching thing. Coach Derrick James is one of them. You know, I'm also proud of AJ, man, for actually making adjustments. I would have loved to see him under the tutelage of Robert Garcia one more time, you know, but, you know, what I was actually thinking about is, the task that Derrick James had. And in this Jermain Franklin fight, I said, going into the fight, do we have more questions or do we have more answers? And walking away from this fight, will we have more questions about AJ or will we have more answers? And the critical piece is Derrick James. I was thinking about his plight, you know, and, you know, the whole, you know, dealing with someone that you didn't like pretty much raise up, or like how, you know, with Errol Spence, how he kind of came along at a time with Errol Spence in the early years, and they kind of been along with him and, you know, maneuvered, and, you know, they got to a champion, you know what I'm saying, multi-division champion, a multi-belt champion, unified champion. And, you know, we saw what he was able to do with Jermell Charlo as he transitioned from Ronnie Shields over there. And then we seeing what he's doing with Frank, you know, Frank the Ghost Martin, being an older guy, starting boxing a little bit late, having a little, you know, a smaller window as far as his amateur, but what he's able to do in his upset with Michelle Rivera. And we come to AJ, and everybody's like, wow, what are we going to get when we see Derrick James, you know, giving tutelage to AJ? And I'm thinking that, if I was Derrick James, what would I be doing? I would be trying to figure, without having AJ overthink everything, what did he pick up from Robert Garcia? Because we saw in the second Usyk fight, even though he suffered another defeat, we saw him have some success. We saw him attempting to go to the body more. We know that Derrick James, he is tried and true, and actually instilling the concept in his fighters to where they're always in position to attack, but they remain defensively responsible. His whole thing is being defensively responsible, but always being in the position to attack, you know, in the position that you're in, so you don't put yourself in pickles where you find yourself not being able to strike because of a move you made or a misstep. So, one, I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna probably correlate some dots that Robert Garcia, you know, was able to instill. He's gonna use Anthony Joshua's natural abilities, his you know, his God-given abilities. A lot of people are saying that, you know, as far as combination punching, he's very fast as far as combination punches. He likes to throw combinations, and he's deceptively powerful. So it might not seem like he hits very hard, but he's deceptively powerful. And I believe that Derrick James is going to have him do some body work. You know, he's going to have him not thinking, but being, you know, cognizant of where he's at in the ring and his positioning and where he can attack, where he's vulnerable at, things like that. Things that we've seen Errol Spence, which is a master at. It's like on that inside, it's like, you know, he can beat you up, but you really can't get, might be able to slip one in here and there, but you won't be able to really get anything in flush on it. We've seen how he's able to implement adjustments, mainly when it comes to Jermell Charlo. When Jermell goes out there, he's a little antsy, a little riled up, you know what I'm saying, fiery like that line is. And Derrick James coming back, he's being the voice of reason in this corner, and he gives him adjustments, and he, you know, harps on what he's doing wrong, and he has the ability for that information to translate over to, you know, the guy that he's coaching, and you actually see them demonstrate the adjustments in the ring, and then next thing you know, they were getting a knockout, or they're definitely getting their hand raised at the end. So I'm thinking after this fight, what I'm looking for from Anthony Joshua, I'm looking for Anthony Joshua to not think so much, to be natural and fluid, to be patient. You know, I think Derrick James, I think he does teach a lot of patience, or, you know, he's not one to have somebody rush. You know, I'm looking for him to take what Jermain Franklin is actually giving him to a certain extent, but for him mainly to impose his will and enact his game plan. And I think Derrick James is going to have AJ do something, and I believe that if AJ has bought into, you know, the lesson and the tutelage and the philosophy, you know, conceptually, if he bought in, he truly buy in, I think it should be a fairly easy night. You know, I mean, a lot of people made a big what to do about Jermain Franklin and Dillian White and how he really won and things like that. It's like, well, I don't think Dillian White did enough, but I wouldn't say that Jermain did enough to truly separate himself. But he did enough to actually create some controversy. So what I'm looking for from Jermain, being from the States, being a guy from Michigan, you know, I'm looking for him to show up. He can upset the apple cart. You know, I mean, Andy Ruiz did it. Who to say Jermain Franklin can't? You know, I see that he cut down a lot of weight, so he's gonna try to use some of his speed. You know, he is a pretty good boxer. You know, I'm thinking that he need to stay behind his jab, and I think he really need to be opportunistic. And sometimes if he does catch AJ in the process of actually thinking, he gotta pull the trigger. He gotta take some risks. He gotta lay it on thick, but he gotta be responsible when he do it, because again, if AJ has took into the tutelage, AJ is always going to be in a position to attack. Anyways, man, that's it, man. I'm excited about this fight. I'm excited about the undercard. I'm excited about Ammo Williams being on it. You know, I'm looking at Fabio Wardley and Coffee. I'm looking for, Fabio Wardley. I'm thinking he's gonna slap Coffee to sleep, man. I think that and in my heart of hearts, I'm on a crash collision to see Fabio Wardley and Big Baby Jared Anderson on a crash collision one of these days. I think those two, I want to see that clash. I want to be, man, if I can, especially if it's anywhere, like if it's up in New York or somewhere, I want to be in a building when that fight happens. But I'm very excited about the undercard. Ammo Williams, he's a rising prospect, man. I'm always looking for what he's able to do in the ring, and you know, the adjustments and the small wrinkles that he's able to implement, man, because I've been following him ever since I, became aware of him. I've been following him, and I've been seeing him, fight these guys. He's not being moved in a way where he's shying away from the smoke. He's going toward the smoke, and I believe one day he's going to be having his hand, one day soon. Within the next year and a half, I think he's going to have his hand raised as a champion. I really do. The guy's explosive. I got some footage of him, from a couple months ago when he was actually doing backflips. Talking about multi-backflips up in the air. He's very athletic, very explosive. And as, his mind matures and he, the X's and O's come together for him, he's going to be a force to reckon with. Because I'm going to tell you like this. If he line you up and he hit you with that left and he catch you clean, it's over. It's over. Look forward to these fights, man. What's your take on it, man? Are we going to get more questions, or are we going to have more answers after we see AJ and Derrick James against Jermain Franklin? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for the new subscriptions. Thanks for all the feedback and the growth. We really appreciate you here at BodyWorkBoxing. We don't take things for face value. We do that body work.